the original Halo theme. You can't tell me that there is a more iconic theme for a video game in existence. There is a damned good reason why it is frequently referred to as being the gamer's national anthem. It was first introduced to us at the release of Halo C in the beginning of a franchise we've all grown to know and love. And that theme has stuck with the franchise religiously for over 24 years. Admittedly, there's been variations and reinterpretations of that theme over the years, but the core of what the Halo theme is has remained steadfast. The Halo theme itself represents what Halo is at its core. Marty came up with the theme in his car on his way to the studio after being given 3 words: ancient, mysterious, and epic. But in the lore of Halo, the Halo theme actually only represents one Halo. The first Halo that we found, Alpha Halo, Installation 04. Which means to a degree the Halo theme itself exists within the lore of Halo. So what does that mean for the other Halos? Hey everyone, welcome back to Installation 00. You'll have to excuse if there's a little bit of background noise. I've got a 3D printer running at the moment in the background, and although I could pause it, I'm not going to. So, yeah, deal with it. Don't worry, I'll do what I can to minimise it, it's fine. But let's get on to the purpose of today's video. On August 23rd, 2024, Marty O'Donnell released a video explaining the I Would Have Been Your Daddy skull in Halo 3, basically going into detail in how the I Would Have Been Your Daddy skull would have been able to be found were it not for people diving into the code of the game and revealing it that way. And during the video he explained his composition of the original Halo theme, as well as briefly touching upon the theme variations that he did for Delta Halo, and the music theory behind the composition of one of gaming's most instantly recognisable theme tunes. And ever since that video released and my watching it, an itch planted itself solidly in the back of my skull and hasn't shifted since. So today I finally scratch that itch and explore the Halo theme and how each unique Halo ring should have its own unique Halo theme. Now, like I said, broadly speaking, Marty's video really goes into how the I Would Have Been Your Daddy skull could have been solved without the need to dive into the code. For those who are unaware about the I Would Have Been Your Daddy skull, in the level The Covenant on Halo 3, you approach the Citadel, where the Halo rings were going to be fired by the Prophet of Truth. And in the main Citadel chamber, down its entire length, there are 7 holographic representations of the 7 Halo rings, installations 1 through 7. And even in the cutscene after Truth kills Miranda and forces Johnson to activate the array, the camera flies down through the centre of the Citadel chamber and settles at the end where the Arbiter and Chief finally arrive and unite with the Flood, of all things. And as that camera flies down the centre of the chamber, you hear each hologram emits its own note. And if you're paying attention enough, you realise that each of those notes coincide with the notes needed to play the Halo theme tune. And annoyingly, even before the I Would Have Been Your Daddy skull was actually revealed by diving into the code and revealing it that way, I remember diving through the rings to try to do the Halo theme tune, but evidently didn't do it right and never got the skull to drop. And I've asked around, I wasn't alone with that. Many other gamers, when Halo 3 first released, realised that those rings could be used to play the Halo theme tune. We just didn't put the pieces together to actually get the skull. Now, in Marty's video, he goes into detail about how he composed the Halo theme. Now, the Halo theme itself is written in the key of E in the mode of Dorian, otherwise known as E Dorian. And the Dorian is a minor scale of notes with a major 6th interval, and it's often described as darkness with a hint of light, which I'm sure we can agree in itself encapsulates what Halo is all about. He composed the track in his car on the way to the studio after being told the 3 keywords about what Halo was: ancient, mysterious, and epic. And by the time you got to the studio and made the recording, we were given this. A simple Gregorian monk chant in E Dorian, with a little bit of wet reverb for good measure. Now, as previously mentioned, it's in E Dorian, which means the entirety of this theme is made of the notes E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, and then starts again an octave above at E. And the theme itself overlays nicely with a constant droning E. Now, if we head back over to the Citadel, we can see one of these rings is not like the other. The one that has red sections that are missing is Installation 04, the one that is being constructed within the foundry that we ultimately discover at the conclusion of this level. Even when the ring itself rises from the foundry, the Halo theme in E Dorian plays, announcing the rebirth of Alpha Halo, Installation 04, or rather in this case, technically 08. And you will also notice that the hologram itself that represents Installation 04 hums the note of E. Now again, the entire Dorian scale for the Halo theme is being emanated by each of the 7 rings, coinciding with each of the 7 notes, ignoring the resolving E at the top of the octave. So knowing that the hologram that represents Installation 04 emanates the note of E, we can then make some very, very simple jumps of logic. The neighbouring hologram closer to the elevator emanates the note of D, and it just so happens that in Halo 2, the theme that goes to Delta Halo is a minor adaptation of the Halo theme, but in D Dorian as opposed to E Dorian. Now this means that it follows the very same key structure but in a different note, being the keys of D, E, F, G, A, B and C respectively. And the entirety of the Delta Halo theme is played with those notes. So from these two examples, we can ascertain that Alpha Halo, Installation 04, is played in the key of E Dorian, and Delta Halo, Installation 05, is played in the key of D Dorian, with D itself being a note contained within the E Dorian scale, which now suggests to another very simple jump of logic. Each respective hologram is a representation of one of the 7 halos, and each of those emit their own note that are involved in the scale of E Dorian, but each themselves have their own associated Dorian. Installation 04 being E has the E Dorian, Installation 05 in the key of D has the D Dorian. That stands to reason that there are Dorians for the other Halo installations. So it's now simply a case of assigning each of these notes to each of the holograms in the Citadel chamber, identifying the respective Dorians for each of the installations, and then composing very slight variations of the Halo theme with their respective Dorians. And that just so happens to be the itch that I've been wanting to scratch since August. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Now, it is worth noting that every single one of these will also have the humming drone from each of the holographic representations layered beneath the actual melody of their respective themes. So back again to the Citadel, and what should be Installation 01 hums with the key of A, so we have to find the A Dorian. And the A Dorian just so happens to be A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G. Now interestingly enough, there is already a song in Halo that is written in the key of A. That was the first 4 notes of Atonement from the Halo 4 soundtrack. I'm not going to play any more than that because, unfortunately, for some reason, The Halo 4 soundtrack's distribution rights rests with Sony, and they really like copywriting videos, in spite of the fact that all other Halo soundtracks are owned by Microsoft and are covered under Microsoft's Fair Content Usage policy, and you could even use gameplay from Halo 4 here on YouTube and they don't tend to copyright that. It's just the music, for some reason. But back to the music at hand. So, Atonement is written in the key of A, however there are only 2 notes in the entirety of Atonement that are written outside of A Dorian, and that is the notes of C sharp and F. But if we simply change these 2 notes to C and F sharp, it doesn't change the overall feel of the song, but also then puts it in line with the Dorians that we've come to expect from Halo theme tunes. And once we've done that, it's just a case of recomposing Atonement with those adjusted keys in a Gregorian monk chant with a little wet reverb. And that results in the theme of Beta Halo. Yes, Beta Halo, I'm British. Now the next hologram in the line is that of Installation 02, also known as Epsilon Halo, and this will be written in the key of G Dorian, composed of the notes G, A, B flat, C, D, E and F. Again sung in Gregorian monk with some wet reverb, and that results in this. Next in line is Installation 03, also known as Gamma Halo, which hums at the key of F sharp. So, extrapolating now into an F sharp Dorian, those are the notes of F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, and E. Now because it's Installation 03, kind of the one before Installation 04, I wanted it to bear some resemblance to Installation 05, or Delta Halo's theme being the one immediately after Installation 04, but with some notable differences, rising a little higher in the initial note sequence, which gives us this. Now, of course, Installation 04 needs no introduction and no real adjustments. And of course I'd be doing a disservice if I didn't include Delta Halo's theme as well. Now next in line is Installation 06, written in the key of C sharp Dorian, including notes C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, and B. Now there's a little bit more of a story to this composition, because in my mind Installation 06, Eta Halo, is one of the more enigmatic rings. Yes, Zeta Halo was part of the senescent array, one of the original larger diameter halo rings that was shrunk down to match up with the new array, but Installation 06, by its exact designation, would have been the last halo of the neoteric array created before they were ultimately fired. At this point, the Forerunner Flood War was on its rapid descent to its final conclusion. The Greater Ark had been destroyed by Mendicant Bias and the Flood by manipulating precursor star roads to literally tear the installation apart. The Greater Ark was massive, as it would have created, in similar manner to the Lesser Ark or Installation 00, each individual halo of the senescent array, the 30,000 kilometer diameter halos. The Lesser Ark, Installation 00, has an estimated construction date of within the last 1,000 years of the Forerunner Flood War, with the most recent date being the same year that the halos were fired. But of course, they had to be constructed by the Ark first. So the fact that the Ark was constructed so close to the end of the Forerunner Flood War, and Installation 06 was the last halo created, I imagine as it was being created, the Forerunners knew all too well that their fight was nearly over. They would have no choice but to fire the halos, defying the mantle of responsibility and destroying every ounce of sentient life in the galaxy. So I imagine the commissioning of Installation 06 must have been a somber, almost haunting occasion, knowing full well what they were about to do. So as such, the theme I wrote for Installation 06 differs quite substantially from the themes of the other halos, but I do feel like it captures that hopelessness, that darkness with a glimmer of light, which itself is encapsulated by the very definition of the Dorian. So this is the theme for the last constructed halo before they fired. And finally we have Installation 07, Zeta Halo, the last surviving ring of the senescent array. Now this one hums in the key of B, so the B Dorian would be B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, and A. Now interestingly enough, there is a theme called Zeta Halo that plays in the Halo Infinite soundtrack. And although it is in the key of E and is basically just the Halo theme, there is a small section of it that differs fundamentally to the primary Halo theme, still written in E Dorian, that I'm sure all of us recognise. Now that theme on its own carries heavy connections for many of us to Installation 07, so I do actually view this particular part of this song as the expression or theme of Zeta Halo, but the problem is that it's in the key of E. But we can very easily remedy that by simply dropping the key from E to B, and in doing so, we get this. And there we have it. That's all 7 installations, all 7 halos, with their own unique themes written in their respective key and in their respective Dorians. Now, something along these lines may or may not have been the original intentions of Marty O'Donnell and Michael Salvatore. It is after all simply my interpretation of what I took from Marty's video about the I Would Have Been Your Daddy skull, but I conservatively believe that it's relatively well reasoned out. The original Halo theme was written in the key of E Dorian. The next Halo that we come across, Installation 05, Delta Halo, was written in the key of D Dorian. And then in Halo 3 we come to the Citadel, where each of the 7 Halos are presented to us with their respective humming keys in association with each of them, all themselves being notes of the original Halo theme, but also all themselves suggesting towards their own Dorians, suggesting towards their own themes. This is layers of meaning in the theming of Halo that shows that the construction, the composition of the Halo theme, the music of the Halo universe, was well thought out and well considered. Even the fact that Dorian itself is described as being darkness with a hint of light mirrors the very themes of the Halo universe itself. Howling darkness with a spark of light, a spark of hope in an otherwise hopeless situation. This, the layers of deep lore, the deeper you dig, the deeper it gets. The obvious biblical references, the very existence of the I Would Have Been Your Daddy's skull and the method that you'd need to employ in order to uncover it. Referencing of T.S. Eliot's poem The Hollow Men. Allegories to the divine comedy Dante's Inferno. All of these are reasons why Halo is so appealing to so many. Why the universe feels so vast, so interconnected. Why everything in the Halo universe feels deliberate, feels purposeful. And although I'm sure that if that was the intention for the themes of Halo, Marty and Mike would have likely written something very different from what I've presented here, it still doesn't take away the fact that Halo, as a franchise, as a universe, and as individual constructs, were created, composed, crafted masterfully, and on every single level that you can possibly comprehend it, Halo speaks to us. It speaks stories of itself, wrapped within stories of itself. It gives us themes within themes within themes, mysteries upon mysteries waiting to be discovered, and is just one of the reasons I love it so much. So before I roll the outro, I'll play all of the themes of the Halos that I've presented here back to back. And until next time. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, consider hitting the subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss out on future content, and hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. It really does help the channel out significantly. Feel free to pop a comment below on anything you'd like me to cover next, and before signing off I just want to give a shout to my Patreon supporters, Spartan10148, my singular contender class ancilla, Falcon, Jordan and Poseidon, the metarchs of my facility, Sylphia, Ashley, Esoteric, Spartan 1029 and Chris Allen, my dutiful monitors, Dorian, Legion, Labrat, Spartan 137, Chris, Element 0, J3, Mr. Keys, Gunslinger Cult, Evermore's, Personal Devil, Scion Esports and Saber, my diligent sub-monitors, my dominating fleet of Strato Sentinels, and my loyal enforcers, and all other patrons who continue to support the channel. I can't thank you guys enough. Big props to my Tier 0 YouTube members, Spartan 137, Talia, Fenrir, Bornstella and Jimbo, and all other YouTube members keeping the installation running on that glorious vacuum energy. And if you really love what I'm doing here, consider supporting the channel via the links in the description. Much love, take it easy, and find peace in the domain.